Hello and welcome to Backstage, where we bring you all of the latest from the world of TV and film. I'm Katie Spencer, and joining me is Sky's entertainment editor Claire Gregory.
Hello.
And all the way from New York, TV and film reviewer Stevie Wong.
Hello.
Coming up on this week's show.
You're kind of in one of two camps. I want to talk about them, or they've ruined the world.
Oh my God. Anyway, here we go.
Life's about to change.
Just a harmless bit of fun.
Is it, Patrick? Is it?
I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping.
It took a toll on me that I never even knew myself.
Well, should we start this week with a show that has been very quiet? We've heard virtually nothing about it. It is a tiny, tiny, small documentary that might not have been on your radar because it's had no attention. It's, of course, the new documentary about the Beckham family, David Beckham in particular, and it's out on Netflix. It's Beckham.
I never really did well at school because all I ever wanted to do was play football.
My manager kept saying, try and keep it under wraps. So we would meet in car parks, and that's not as seedy as it sounds.
Classy.
It's Beckham. He's done it now.
Well, look, we had the big Meghan and Harry Netflix documentary. This is Posh and Beck's version, focusing on David's football career and their romance, isn't it, Claire? 4-part series.
It's the perfect kind of cross-section, isn't it, of pop culture and sport. So you've kind of got all these really interesting talking heads, and of course you've got Victoria Beckham and David himself, and they don't do loads of interviews. So the access on this is just incredible.
I like to think that they are often photographed in the wild like some sort of beautiful gazelles, but you never actually get to speak to them. So it's very interesting that we've actually got, I think it's like hours and hours of interviews that David in particular recorded for this. Stevie, coming from an American perspective, do you care? Did you care? Did you watch it all?
I don't have that much interest in David Beckham. I know who he is. I know he plays football, and and it turns out he's a beekeeper and all these wonderful things about this man. Definitely
with a little monogram that he's just
oh yeah, the monogram,
a special hobby that he's got.
Exactly, but I think definitely more interested in Posh Spice, aka Victoria Beckham, and so to see that relationship kind of grow in this series, it was definitely more interesting to me. And then they would go back to the football, and I'm like,
I mean,
so
there's some things that we didn't know though, Claire, aren't there? But as well, we should say Fisher's been quite easy on it. It's a bit vague, some of his questions.
Yeah, it's not the most hard-hitting documentary. No. You're probably, you're not going to see massive amounts of kind of information on secretive things. It's a fairly easygoing doc, but he spent a long time working on it, and then David Beckham got to be interviewed by another fabulous person, Katie Spencer.
Yes, I mean, I like to think that it was as special a moment for him as it was for me. But yeah, I got to the red carpet event. It was very exciting. You had the whole of the Beckham family turning out. Posh there saying she was very, very proud of what was happening, and I got a few minutes with David himself, and I asked him whether it was a big decision really to embark on a project like this.
There was a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of things that's happened in my life and my career. Setting the things straight, I don't know. At the end of the day, people know a lot of the stories, but they've probably never heard some of them from me. And for me, going over certain things like 98, I'd never really sat down and talked about really in such detail.
And all 4 episodes of Beckham are available to stream now on Netflix. Well, from one famous family to another. There's another big documentary out this week. It's a 3-part series about the Kardashian family, and it's called House of Kardashians, out very soon on Sky Documentaries.
The Kardashians have redefined the American dream.
Kris wanted to be more than just a housewife.
Kimberly calculated from the beginning, how do I become famous?
The sex tape was a means to an end. It was to create a controversy.
What was it like working with your wife?
Okay, so this is a 3-part documentary, and if we're comparing and contrasting documentaries about very famous families this week, this is coming at the Kardashians with more of a sort of focus on what their influence has been, good and bad, if you like.
Yeah, it looks at them as like a dynasty, as a business, and yeah, very much as you say, kind of their influence and their impact. Because how do you make a documentary about a family that their whole lives are on our screens anyway?
Yeah.
You know, the Kardashians are one big documentary, so it's kind of it's quite a tricky thing to try and do, to put a new spin on this kind of tale that we are very familiar with. So that's kind of how they do it, but without Kris Jenner and without the daughters. It's told through interviews and largely a long interview with Caitlyn Jenner.
Do you have to be a fan, do you think, to watch this one?
I think you certainly have to be invested, yeah. You need to be very curious and interested in the Kardashians. And I suppose really in kind of popular culture and how impactful and kind of where they sit in our society, really. But Caitlyn Jenner, I will say, is a really, really fascinating interviewee. She's extremely candid. She, you know, there really is no holds barred, and really opens up about the family and about her kind of position in it.
Well, Sky's Sarah Jane Mee as well was fortunate enough to get to sit down with Caitlyn and have a chat as well. And she is really interesting, isn't she? Because one of the things they touched on was Caitlyn's sort of trans journey, if you like. And it was really interesting to hear what she had to say on that.
I had no choice but to come out publicly.
And the documentary shows that you were hounded by paparazzi, and
they were all over me. It was my life at that point in pre-transition was horrible. I'd have 4 or 5 cars following me with cameras. Every place I would go, they're yelling stupid stuff at me. My life was horrible.
And that's really hard to watch.
It's really hard to live. It's even harder to live through.
Yeah.
Yes, it's even harder to live through.
You really get a sense of that.
And I'm sneaking around. The only place I can go is the golf course. And then they started flying helicopters over the golf course and circling around on what hole I was in, especially after I transitioned, to see what tees I was hitting off from. Was I from the men's or the women's tees? And stupid stuff like this.
Everything becomes a story.
My life was horrible, horrible.
And House of Kardashian premieres on Sky Documentaries on the 8th of October. Look, shall we talk now then about the return of Ghosts, a BBC staple over the years, and it's back now for the 5th and final season.
Just a harmless bit of fun.
Is it, Patrick? Is it?
You put a claim in for a fire at your guest house.
Our claim is being investigated. How can we have all this land and nothing to sell?
Money, money, money.
Abba.
Ta-da! Thank you, thank you. There is button to when one of us go.
Going out with a bang.
I'm going to be sick.
Oh, you can't not like Ghosts, can you? I feel like it's just such a lovely I mean, you know you've made it in the world when you get your own Christmas specials, don't you? And that's what the Ghosts has established itself so much in this country that it even has its own Christmas specials. And now this is going to be the last season, is it? Really?
Yeah. Well, this is the last series, but they've promised a little present under the tree. So we will, you know, as well as this final series, I think we can expect a Christmas special or two this year. So yeah, it's not fully gone away yet, but much sadness when it does, because there's something just so heartwarming and it's kind of simple and lovely about this. It's you know, it kind of does what it says on the tin. It's about some ghosts, and they live with a couple, and they all kind of manage to rub along and have a good time together.
I mean, from the return of it, from the very first episode of this latest season, you've got that really kind of witty humour that you expect from this, and also that lovely warmth to it. And it is, I mean, Stevie, don't even get me started on the US version, because if you've ever tried watching the US version of this, it's just not the same. You don't do it the same as us, Stevie.
It's different. I mean, first of all, Ghost is only 6 episodes, so lazy. But like in the States, we have 22 in a season, and at this point, the US version of Ghosts has kind of moved into its own universe, and it I love it, but I also love this UK version of Ghosts. So it makes me very sad that you guys are ending it, because again, 6 episodes. Like, if it's a lot of work and you guys are, if it's, we don't have any more stories to tell, I'm like, well, you do have a lot more stories. Just go away for a couple of months and then come back again. But what I love about the UK version is just like everybody's so comfortable, because first of all, every actor is so funny, and so when they're together, like all of the rhythms and the jokes, it's just a lovely, comfortable show, and it's really funny. So I'm very curious why the show has to end so soon, because it just feels like it's a little bit too soon. But
Better to leave the people wanting more, though, Stevie.
Maybe then that should be our cue to leave then. Ghost Season 5 is available now to watch on BBC One and on iPlayer. And that's it from us for this week. If you've enjoyed what we've been talking about this week and you want to hear a little bit more, then just download the latest Backstage podcast. And you can do that by scanning the QR code that's on your screens now, or just looking for the name Backstage wherever it is that you usually get your podcasts. That's it from us. Thank you again, Claire, Stevie, and we will see you again very soon.